सहज श्वेत है धाम, तेज पुंज सत्पुरुष है, तह हंसन विश्राम।
VYGOS is Vihangam Yoga Global Online Satsang, which is scheduled every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Those who would miss to attend the morning session can listen to the broadcast replay on Sunday evening at 4:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The aim of this forum is to give the entire world an opportunity to learn the ancient science of meditation and benefit from this pious service inspired by Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj, the pioneer of Vihangam Yoga. If you are interested in learning the technique or want to conduct a program at your place, and for any inquiry related to it, please feel free to write to us at info@vihangamyog.org. That is info@vihangamyoga.org.
Jai Sadgurudev to all. A very warm welcome and greetings to every blessed soul listening to us across the globe at this time for joining us about this platform of VYGOS. And a million thanks for detaching yourselves from the attachments of physical, materialistic life for some time and devoting the same in seeking the truth. Yes, this also happens to be our topic of the day. We have often heard and known that in pursuit of the higher spiritual purpose, the virtue of detachment from the materialistic world has often been deemed necessary. Philosophy of Vihangam Yoga teaches us how this detachment can be attained while being submerged in the pool of materialistic attractions. Or to simply say, how can we continue to explore our spiritual purpose while being a part of this known physical realm? For questions so many and for answers to many more, we will have a deep dive into the topic guided by our global speaker panel. Let me have the privilege of introducing them to you. We are privileged to be joined by Sonoji today, who is a senior engineer at L&T Constructions, managing power projects for Government of Nepal, and is joining us from Nepal. Then we have Rekha ji, an ardent practitioner of Vihangam Yoga meditation with a melodious voice, who will be joining us for bhajan today from USA. And then Raghav ji, our prime speaker of the day, an associate director at a consulting firm in India, a devoted practitioner of VY, joining us from Delhi, India. And finally, once again, privileged to have Abhinav Kishore ji, a project lead by profession at a software firm in Australia, a practitioner of VY. And he will be joining us from Australia. And I am Anurag Dev, your host of the day, joining from Bangalore, India. I welcome all of you about this platform. And before we dive into the session, let me put forward a humble reminder that questions from the seekers across the globe can be posted live at www.slido.com/VYGOS and can also be messaged on the WhatsApp numbers flashing on the screen currently. So let's start the session with the prayer to the lotus feet of Sadgurudev to bless the occasion with the presence of its divine energy. We will do the same with Swagat Gan. Swagat Gan will be followed in succession by Mangal Gan, prayer for world's peace and prosperity, a prayer to eliminate differences in society. These are powerful prayers written by His Holiness Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj, dedicated to the lotus feet of Eternal Master for the establishment of a spiritual kingdom. Let's fold our hands and listen to these musical renderings.
आज स्वागत नित्य गुरुवर संत शुभागम आइए, अध्यात्म विद्या दिव्य ज्योति सोमरस बरसाइए। दोष दुर्गुण दूर करके शुद्ध हंस बनाइए, भेद गम गति ज्ञान गर्जन शक्ति द्वार हटाइए। खुले द्वारा शब्द सागर भक्त जन अनहवाइए, जन सदा फल विश्व शिक्षक शान आन बताइए, शान आन बताइए। विश्व शांति नाम मंगल परम गुरु को ध्याइए, वर्ग द्वंद्व शांति दूर कर भाव भेद मिटाइए। सार्वभौम समष्टि सत्ता आत्मराज बनाइए, वेश भाषा भाव जगमय ज्ञान पर दर्शाइए। समृद्धि सुख शांति धरातल स्वर्ग भूमि बनाइए, विश्व शिक्षक जन सदा फल नीतीश्वर अपनाइए, नीतीश्वर अपनाइए।
These are the prayers written by His Holiness Sadguru Sadafal Deji Maharaj, dedicated to achieving peace and prosperity by the elimination of differences, all kinds of differences in the society. This is a prayer to the Almighty Himself. Sadguru Sadafal Deji Maharaj recorded his own spiritual experiences in simple and a very comprehensive language in Swarved, the prime treatise among his 35 spiritual texts, and often referred as the encyclopedia of spirituality. This is not a book created out of some intellectual exercise. Taking no reference from any other scripture, it is the first-hand divine knowledge written in a state of oneness with the Supreme Lord itself, the very source and the origin of all the knowledge. It unveils the deepest spiritual secrets and is an exceptional synchronization of experience and expression. Let us listen to some relevant compositions from this encyclopedia of spirituality. I hand over the control to Sonuji from Nepal to take us towards the recitation of Swarved verses. Over to you, Sonuji.
Jai Sri Sadgurudev Bhagwan, and thanks a lot for this opportunity. So these are the verses taken from Swarved's second half, that is Uttarardh, from its 6th chapter, Bhedasar, in which Swamiji has described about today's discussed topic, attachment and detachment, in details, along with whole knowledge of spirituality. सत्य प्रेम है जाहि में ता स्वभाव गुण आए, जिमि चकोर शशि को चहे दग्ध न पावक खाए। जाके जिसमें प्रेम है ताको तिसमें प्रेम, चाहे अनचाहे दो सत्य पुरुष कर छेम। A true lover imbibes the attributes and nature of one he loves. For example, bird Chakur loves the moon, so it imbibes the cool, soothing nature of the moon, and it eats a blazing piece of fire and is not burnt at all. Love between two persons or objects is interdependent. The Supreme Lord, being loved by his devotees, loves the latter too, and he looks after his well-being. Love is a valuable element of life. Even God observes the dictum of love. So it is proper to have divine love in one's own self. प्रेम नहीं सो दूर है, दूर प्रेम से नीर, गगन सूर्य पथरी तरह, सुनन ऊर्ध्व की टेर, मिलना सच हो मिल लो, दुविधा कपट बहाय, पर्दा लौह पारस संगे, नहीं कंचन होए जाय. If there is no love, you are far away. And if you have love, you are near, even while living far off. The sun is far away in the sky, above the and the chakmak stone, a kind of lens piece, is kept on the ground below. But it receives the sun's effect from such a great distance and is able to produce fire. If you want to meet the Lord, meet Him sincerely, removing all cheats, suspicion, and illusion from your heart. So long as the soul is engaged in enjoying worldly pleasures, God can't be realized. As a curtain remaining in between an iron piece and paras, the former can't turn into gold even by being so near the latter. In the same way, if there is any alien thought like cheat, suspicion in the heart, God realization is impossible. करी फटीक प्रतिबिंब में रद भ्रम तोड़े जाय, त्यों आत्म पौ भरम में चेतन शक्ति नशाय, ज्यों किर मरकट आप ही भ्रम से बंधन होय, त्यों आत्म धोखे पड़े दुख आपे कर सोय. As an elephant, seeing its reflection in a crystal hill, takes it for another elephant and strikes it again and again till it breaks its teeth. Similarly, the soul destroys its energy, being gripped in Maya due to ignorance. As parrots and monkeys are caught in snares due to ignorance, so does the soul suffer being caught in the illusion of Prakriti. जैसे चुंबक सार को छुअत लेत उठाए, सार शब्द तिमि जीव को खींची के आप मिलाए, कोई पिंड ब्रह्मांड में कोई शून्य ठहराए, यह धोखा सत्य भेद जो रोम रोम दर्शाए. As a magnet attracts and lifts up an iron piece, the moment the latter touches the former, similarly the Supreme Lord attracts and unites with him the pure soul the moment it comes in his circumference. During the period of practice, when meditating on the vast conscious zone through Sadguru's process, the practitioner's surati stabilizes there and the Supreme Brahm attracts it and unites it with him. The author has explicitly disclosed this incident on the basis of his own experience. Now he is referring to practitioners following different sects, their gurus and practical methods, and says that some gurus point out the portion below the head called pind to be the zone of attaining the Lord, while some others opine that the portion above the neck is the proper place for doing that. Some others advise to meditate on the void. All these sectarians are under illusion and totally under the effect of ignorance. The apparent experience of the Supreme Entity is attained under the guidance of Sadguru, both outside and inside, as well as in every pore of the body. जो सुख पूर्व ही भोगिया, सुखन ज्ञान जेहि माही, स्मरण देखिता लोभिया, राग कहत हो ताही. जो दुख जिसमें भयो, पूर्व काल ही माही, रोष साधन स्मरण में, द्वेष कहें बुधताही. The pleasures enjoyed previously and remembered now produce attachment towards them. This feeling is called rag. The objects or person who caused pain previously and are remembered at present produce anger. Such a sense is called dvesh, that is jealousy. Thanks a lot. Jai Sri Sadgurudev Bhagwan.
Thank you very much, Sonuji, for this wonderful recitation of Swarved verses. As Sonuji brought out, as long as the soul is immersed in the wealth of worldly pleasures, God realization, self realization is not possible. But then we have this only one life. And that too in this world where we are all from all the directions attached in every nook and corner of our life with this world. From its sorrows to its worries, and then to small fragments of happiness that we pursue. Then how is this detachment possible if we are living day and night into this materialistic world? That will be the focus of the talk of the day. Let's dive deep into this topic with our prime speaker of the day, Raghavendraji. Raghavendraji, as I introduced before, is an associate director at a consulting firm in India, a devoted practitioner of Vihangam Yoga meditation, and a very vibrant speaker. We have had the privilege of listening to him on this platform before too, and we have the same privilege again. I hand over the control to him to take us deep into the topic. Over to you, Raghavendraji.
Thank you for your gracious introduction and for having me here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Attachment and detachment are two states of mind that run through and rule our lives. We can be attached to good or bad. Similarly, we can be detached from good or bad as well. A story goes in the New Testament like so. A rich young ruler comes to meet Jesus and he asks him, what does it take to have eternal life, to enter the kingdom of God? Jesus tells him about the 10 commandments. The rich man assures him that he has met the conditions and complied with all the commandments. He has not murdered, he has not stolen, nor committed adultery, he has not lied in his life, he has honored his parents and has loved his neighbor. Jesus then gives him a single instruction. He tells the rich man that he must give away all that he has to the poor and to come with him to the kingdom of God. On hearing this, the rich man is crestfallen. This he cannot do. Though he has complied with the commandments in every respect, he has obeyed all the rules, yet he is too attached to his worldly possessions and his money. Jesus looks at him and says, how hard it is for the rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. Indeed, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. The scriptures tell us that the rich man went away in sorrow. The idea behind this is that no matter what we have complied with, no matter how much we obey the spiritual laws, if we do not give up our attachments, if we do not become detached from our wealth and our material possessions, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Similar to this idea from Christianity, we have the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. They may be summarized as following. first truth is that the world is full of suffering. The second truth is that craving and attachment is the cause of suffering. The third truth refers to how to move toward the cessation of suffering. And the fourth and final truth is the cessation of suffering itself. And how do we do this? We follow the Eightfold Path in Buddhism. We work towards the right view, the right resolve, the right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The word concentration is something that we shall discuss in greater detail at a later stage in this session. Another story thus goes. Little Nachiketa, whose father was performing a great sacrifice, and this is what the Hindu scriptures tell us, especially the Kathopanishad. In the sacrifice, Nachiketa asks his dad, "What about me? Whom will you give me to?" He asks him thrice. The father loses cool and says that, "I shall give you to the god of death." Nachiketa is not saddened. He's okay with this. He says, "Indeed, I shall go to the god of death." So Nachiketa relinquishes his body and goes to meet the lord of death, Yamraj. Upon reaching the abode of the lord of death, he has to wait for 3 days without any food or water, till finally the god of death appears before him. Pleased with his patience and with his desire to know the truth, the lord of death grants him 3 wishes, and Nachiketa uses them to great effect. The first one is his desire for love from his father, which the god of death grants him most willingly. The second one is about knowledge of sacrifices, which give the kingdom of heaven, as it were, which is again given to him by the god of death. And the third one, the most mysterious one, is about the truth. Nachiketa wants to know about the absolute truth. He wants to know, how can a person attain salvation? The god of death tests him. He points out that he can give him 1,000 years to live. He can give him all the pleasures and the material benefits of the world. But none of this carries any weight or meaning for Nachiketa, who insists that he wants to know the truth and would have it no other way. The god of death is pleased with the determination of Nachiketa to get to the truth. And so he explains that we are ruled by our senses, and much like a chariot which is 5 horses running in all different directions, the mind leads us in different directions at every moment of time. We are not in control of ourselves. So as the Sarathi or the charioteer takes control of the horses and makes them run in one direction so that the chariot goes in one direction, so also we need to take control of our mind and focus it in the direction required. Today, a person who identifies with the world and its material well-being, wealth, fame, objects of sensual possession, he thinks that joy will come from having these possessions, perhaps a new car, new clothes. However, with every new acquisition, there is a feeling of joy, satiation, and sadness thereafter, and the cycle repeats itself. So we reward ourselves, we keep acquiring new things. We get tired of them and we give them up. But the satisfaction is never there. It's only temporary. So for this satisfaction, we keep going through these cycles. Those who are dwelling in the darkness of ignorance and are deluded by wealth and possessions are like children playing with the toys, says the Lord of Death to Nachiketa. Such foolish children are caught in the snares of death and come again and again under my sway. They remain in the snares of death. They cannot get beyond the limits of the dark realm. They travel back and forth. Upon hearing this, Nachiketa wants to know how to escape from this cycle, and the God of Death explains to him on how to give up attachment, move towards detachment, and move towards knowledge of the ultimate truth. Similarly, in the Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of the Sikhs, it is said, in this green pasture, the mortal stays only a few days. He plays and frolics in utter darkness. The jugglers have staged their show and left, like people mumbling in a dream. This is a reference to the material world. The green pasture is the material world. The soul takes birth in a mortal form, assumes a mortal form. It plays and frolics in utter ignorance, just like a juggler doing his show. Once the show comes to an end, it's all over. And this cycle repeats itself. They are the 5 thieves that the Granth Sahib refers to. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh and Ahankar. Kam is lust, Krodh is anger and rage, Lobh is greed, Moh is the one that we are interested in this particular session. It is attachment to worldly things and relations. The 5th one is Ahankar, ego. The way to move out of Moh is detachment, but that is not easy. For, as the great Gurus preach, active participation in life is required rather than escapism. One can be leading the life of a householder in the so-called Grihastha ashram that Hindus refer to, and yet he or she can be detached and focus his self or herself on the Lord and the ultimate truth. Ultimately, all detachment comes to you by God's grace only, says the Granth Sahib. By His grace alone can moh or attachment be overcome. An image in the Gurbani describes the ideal life as that of a lotus. We are all like lotus flowers. We live in the world full of muddy water, but no amount of water or rain or worldly highs and lows that fill the world, that is, should ever drown us or affect us. Instead, we should always float above all of these and be level-headed. We should demonstrate a great deal of detachment from the world despite residing within it. The Guru Granth Sahib goes on to say, they alone are blessed with glorious greatness at the Lord's throne, who enshrine the fearless Lord in their minds and lovingly center themselves on Him. As bubbles are created in this water and they disappear again, so is the universe created. We are all like bubbles. For a few moments we have an existence, and then in the scheme of the universe, we too are gone. But if we yearn for eternal peace, then we need to seek the sanctuary of the Lord, said the Granth Sahib. In good times, we have so many companions and friends and relations and relatives, but in bad times, there is no one. So, the Granth Sahib says, vibrate and meditate on the Lord. He shall be your only help and support in the end. We look at the knowledge of Vihangam Yoga to understand how is it that we move from attachment to detachment, or from attachment to something that is temporary and fleeting, and move towards detachment from that temporary and fleeting phenomenon that is the material world, and move on to attachment to the ultimate truth, God, for want of a better name. The force of consciousness in the soul, as the Hindu scriptures say, activates the mind and goes through the various sense organs. In the waking state, this force flows out into the natural world and gives us the knowledge of the world. So the eyes, ears, nose, the skin, the tongue, these all help us to perceive the natural world around us. We are controlled by a mind as also by a memory and our ego. Once the mind is fixed, its outward flow can be controlled consciously. According to the ancient sages of India, perfect knowledge of existence, all nature, inert as well as conscious, can be achieved when one has acquired the divine eye of pure consciousness after dissociation from all the physical attachments, such as the mind, the intellect, the pranas, or the life force and the body. Hence, the force of consciousness has to be channelized inwards willfully towards its origin. On the inward journey of the consciousness towards its origin, the mind has first to be restrained so that it may not dissipate a force of consciousness. And how does this really work in real life? We would have noticed that while we are awake, the mind is situated mostly within our eyesight. So we see something in front of us, our mind goes there. From there, our mind jumps like a monkey to some other memory. And that too is based most likely 80% on a visual perception, some other memory from the past. So we can start by discussing, this would go on, this gossip goes on. So the mind has this way of jumping from memory to memory, mostly based on visual memories. So the idea to control the mind, to move away from all these attachments and move on to detachment, is to control the outward flow of the consciousness that goes from the soul towards the prakriti or the inert nature. To control the mind, therefore, dissipations of the beams of consciousness has to be brought to an end, has to be controlled, and brought to a convergence of a point, which is given in the initiation of Vihangam Yoga. As soon as there is a burning desire to move away from attachment and towards detachment from the material world, even though we are very much to stay in the material world like Grihast Yogis, we need to understand that it can only be done under the guidance of someone who has complete knowledge, who has been there and done all of this, who is truly a liberated soul. As this journey is full of pitfalls, it is full of ego, it is full of magical accomplishments that will trap you. So you could become one of those many miracle causers. You could be reading people's minds, you could be telling people's futures. These are all siddhis that you need to avoid. And the only way you can do it is by submitting yourself to the guidance and the blessings of the Sadguru. The initial stage of Vihangam Yoga is the most important one, for it is here that the outward flow of consciousness is first tamed, and we begin a journey of detachment. The further stages of Vihangam Yoga move you progressively from attachment to detachment, and then back onto attachment, not to the material world from which you've gotten detached, but to the final truth, the Paramatma, the Supreme Being. And along this journey is a very interesting pit stop called self-realization. So you realize yourself, you see your own soul. Once you do that, you are detached from your body. You have knowledge of your soul, and that cannot be taken away from you. Not unless you fall into the trap of ego, which you won't if you are operating, if you are working under the guidance of the Sadguru. Therefore, seek the Sadguru. Seek good company. Seek the company of good people who can take you to the direction and the guidance of the Sadguru. Once your journey starts, the soul moves from a grosser form to a more subtler form. And beyond a certain point, attachment, detachment, and attachment to the ultimate truth takes you to what is your actual purpose, and that is God realization. So when we refer to the yogi as one who, like a lotus flower, lives in the material world and yet is detached from it, he or she is actually attached to a higher purpose and is working towards attainment of that purpose under the guidance of the Sadguru. Our endeavor should be to seek the guidance of such a Sadguru, and that is indeed possible through Vihangam Yoga. Please do visit us at our website www.vihangamyoga.org. May the Sadguru bless us all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Raghavendra ji, for enlightening the session with some Vihangam light on this topic. Raghavendra ji clearly brought out how self-realization, God realization, is impossible without the virtue of detachment, which cannot be attained without self-control, without directing our consciousness inwards, and how this becomes so much achievable with the practice of Vihangam Yoga meditation under the guidance and the grace of Sadguru's divine energy. Presence of Sadguru, grace of Sadguru, as we have reiterated several times on this platform, is the one and the unique thing that separates Vihangam Yoga meditation practice from all other forms of meditation. We will continue to elaborate more on this topic in the forthcoming question-answer session with our other panelists. Meanwhile, let's move towards listening to a soulful bhajan graced with the melodious voice of Rekha ji, who has joined us today live from USA. Over to you, Rekha ji.
Thank you, Anurag Dev ji, and Jai Sadguru Dev everybody. ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे फिर पीछे पछताएगा. This bhajan says, O soul, you have come to this world and getting fooled by the pleasures of this land. Please wake up and seek the shelter of Sadguru before it is too late. So let's hear the bhajan. ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा. ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा. तू कहता है मेरी काया, काया का अभिमान ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। वहाँ से क्या तू लाया बंदे, यहाँ से क्या ले जाएगा। मुट्ठी बांध के आया जग में, हाथ पसारे जाएगा, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। बालापन में खेलिया खाया, आई जवानी मस्त रहा, बूढ़ापन में रोग सताए, खाट पड़ा पछताएगा, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। समझ सके तो समझ ले बंदे, आखिर तो मिट जाएगा। कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, करने का फल पाएगा, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा रे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा। बोलिए सद्गुरुदेव की जय। ओवर टू यू अनुराग देव जी।
Thank you, Rekha ji, for this wonderful and melodious bhajan, and more importantly, a very relevant one. चांद सा सुंदर ये तन तेरा मिट्टी में मिल जाएगा, ज्ञान गुरु का ले ले बंदे, फिर पीछे पछताएगा. I remember Swarved, where Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj says, राज काज सुख साज सब धन व धान जग नाम, यह क्षण में छुट जाएंगे नहीं आवे ते ही काम. All the materialistic influence, wealth, pleasure, name and fame, everything will be separated from oneself in a moment. None of these elements acquired in this physical world will serve any real purpose when it comes to the spiritual journey to self-realization and salvation. In Sadguru Sadafal Dev Ji Maharaj, the teachings of Swarved guides us seeking soul to detach internally from the attractions of this world and spend its time in the meditation of Lord. If I have to summarize this version, that's how I would do it. Once again, a lot of thanks for presenting this wonderful bhajan to us. Now we move towards the most interesting session, part of the session, where we will be joined by another panelist and the speaker, Abhinav Kishore ji. Abhinav Kishore ji is a project lead and a software engineer at an IT firm in Australia, and he's joining us today live from Australia. We have had the privilege of having him on this particular platform before, and we are again graced to have him on this platform. Abhinavji, I hope you are able to listen to me. You are able to. Am I audible to you?
Yes, definitely, Anuragji. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us, Abhinavji, today. And we have a limited frame of time for around 11 minutes to discuss some of the very interesting questions raised by the seekers. And it's very interesting and encouraging to see that people are very excited about the ongoing online sessions. Some of them do the posts their doubts and queries even before the session starts. And today I will start with one such query that we received today morning. So we have been talking on this topic of detachment and attachment. The seeker here, Abhinavji, is interested in understanding a terminology called vairagya. So basically the seeker is asking, detachment and vairagya, are these the same concepts? Yes or no? And if no, then how they are different? How would you reflect on this, Abhinavji?
Sure. Thanks for that fantastic question. So, depending on who you ask, vairagya can be translated in different ways. So, I'd be very careful, firstly, in saying we're comparing a word in English to a word in Sanskrit. So, there's always going to be a bit of a bridge we need a gap, or a bridge we need to overcome. Vairagya can be roughly translated into multiple words in English to capture the essence of what it really means. So it can be detachment, it can be renunciation, it can be dispassion, it can be, as I mentioned, detachment. It has been discussed today, detachment. But the essence of what it captures very much aligns with how we look at the word detachment in the world of English, whereby, there's two kinds of ways of thinking about it. One is that we physically, how do we achieve a detachment? Do we detach ourselves by physically removing ourselves from a situation? Or do we achieve that state of being detached or being in a state of vairagya by reaching an internal state of consciousness which is disassociated with the external world? So to kind of surely answer this question, I'd say that they are similar, loosely similar, if you transliterate the two words against each other. The main thing to really take out of reflecting on these two words is that vairagya is a state of consciousness. It is not a state of physical existence where we remove ourselves from a particular situation. It is a state of consciousness in which the energy which is sourced from the soul is no longer being expressed outwards. It's being controlled inwards, and we take more deliberate decisions in where we focus that energy and how we use that energy. And in doing that, we use our buddhi, our vivek, the ability to discriminate between right and wrong per spiritual principles, and we use those tools to really guide where we place our energy day to day, how we use this economy and currency of energy on a day-to-day basis. And through these decisions, we then, we start to become careful. Like, okay, if I put too much energy into this thing, I can see myself entering a pattern where I'm becoming too attached, and I'm going away from this state of being in a state of vairagya. So that's how I would shortly reflect on that question.
Yes, Abhinavji. And moreover, the word vairagya, I would say it has a lot more, broader meaning than, confining it to the word detachment. In fact, as per the ancient Hindu mythology, the lifespan of a human being is divided into four major, ashrams, four major stages, out of which vairagya is the last one. So if somehow the speaker mentions that, if somehow the seeker is trying to somehow connect with that stage of life and the detachment word that we have used in the session. Basically, I would say that the meaning of both at whatever aspect or at whatever stage of life remains same. Even that stage of life is a stage of detachment from the external world and direct the consciousness inwards. Would you agree with me, Avinoji?
Yeah, definitely. Again, like I think I'd love to hear more from the seeker on what their baseline definition of vairagya is, because as you mentioned, exactly, like we can go so much deeper into that specific word.
Correct. And in addition, I during the spiritual discourse of Raghavendra ji, he used the words, detachment comes only with the grace of God. And then he further went on describing how this is achievable with the practice of Vihangam Yoga meditation under the guidance of Sadgurudev. The seeker, another seeker, is interested in understanding, though he understands that detachment comes only with the grace of God or the grace of Sadguru. Is there any way to practice it ourselves in our day-to-day life? Would you like to comment on this, Avinaji?
Sure. As we've spoken about today, detachment is a state of consciousness. So the first step is becoming self-aware of where our energy is currently attached. And, to kind of achieve that state of understanding, one very simple thing we can do is actually practice meditation. So the Vihangam meditation, we suggest to people or teach to people to meditate twice a day for 10 minutes. And for myself personally, I've been meditating for a number of years, and I've found that just by meditating for 20 minutes a day, I can be much more self-aware of what patterns I'm entering in my life, what habits are affecting me day to day. Am I too pulled into a certain direction? So one of the things that, the knowledge of Brahmavidya, or the knowledge of that supreme soul, which has been presented to us in the form of the practical practice of Vihangam Yoga, that is one of the very, least time-sensitive ways in which we can achieve a state of detachment or move towards a state of detachment. Another thing we can do is talk about it. So reflecting on what am I doing day to day, where we reach the state or the activity of satsang, which we're doing today. And the last is seva, where we put aside our attachments and instead say, I'm going to focus my energy on bettering the lives of other people or other beings. So these three things, seva, satsang, sadhana, they are extremely vital and pillars to a spiritual seeker and the development of a spiritual seeker. And as far as where we develop towards a state where we're very deliberate about our energy and our consciousness day to day. And detachment comes almost as a byproduct of being in that state. So we don't even aim for detachment. It organically comes about because all we're trying to do is understand ourselves better and what we want to do better. And in that process, we can now start to decide, okay, these things that I'm attached to, I don't want to be anymore. So that process of identifying, readjusting, and then changing yourself, transforming yourself, transmuting yourself. These are three things which really help in going towards that state, is what I'd reflect on there, Anuragji.
Yeah, sure, Avinoji. So I will take another 2 minutes of yours, wherein as you speak about the involvement in seva, the involvement in satsang and other spiritual acts, one of the seekers seeks to know that when involved in seva, satsang and such acts, I experience a momentary detachment. And then it vanishes as soon as I again enter into the affairs of world. So, is there any way that we can achieve permanence here? I think this is a very usual situation with most of the practitioners most of the seekers in the spiritual world, where when you get involved with the certain spiritual acts and then you feel the detachment, and then you are again pulled back into the affairs of the world, and that detachment vanishes.
Yeah.
How would you reflect on this, Abhinavji?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I've also experienced this in my own life where when I'm involved in acts of seva, when I've had the privilege of doing those things, and then I go back to my normal life, it is difficult. There is a clash, and what I've noticed for myself is when I've reflected on it, what's important is to look at what your state of consciousness is when you're acting or performing acts of seva and satsang. And the idea and the science of Vihangam Yoga is looking at that state of consciousness and almost making it your only state of consciousness. So you always act from that state of consciousness. In reflecting on why this happens is because the world we live in, we're constantly exchanging energy with the people around us. We're constantly exchanging energy with the society we live in. And so the different material, properties of this world start to affect us as well. And the science of Vihangam Yoga and the science of spirituality, the reason why it's so subtle and so, you could also say, difficult at times, is because we have to disassociate ourselves from those properties and almost become self-sustaining and self-managed, self-controlled. And that's where, the guru is the most important guide. Because, if you look at your energy, let's say you have 100 points of energy a day, you have to put it somewhere. And what the spiritual philosophy tells us, what Vihangam Yoga tells us, is there's one place where you can put it where you always know that the way it's being used is in accordance with these principles of seva, satsang, and sadhana. And that is in the feet of the master. So when we look at these things as vanishing, or you enter the world and things start to change, that is a very organic process. But the state which we have to strive towards is to be disassociated from the external world, so that everything which, all the energy we have within us is not being affected by the external world, which is arguably also leading into what the concept of Vairagya also encapsulates. So that's how I would also reflect on this one. I'd say to this person, you're definitely going on the right track. I definitely have reflected on the same thing so many times, and it's a gradual process where the master guides you.
Yes, Abhinavji, it's a gradual process guided by the master. I agree with you. And with that, I would like to thank you and conclude the segment of question answer for the limited frame of time we had. Thank you very much for joining us live on this show. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Abhinavji.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So now we move towards the concluding segment of the session, wherein we proceed with the recitation with the listening of Shanti Path, and then we conclude the ceremony.
विराग त्याग की शांति हो, उदासीनता शांति, सेवा जित शिष्य शांति हो, सत्य शांति हो शांति। हे प्रभु शांति स्वरूप हो, शांति शांतिमय शांति, शांति शांति जन शांति हो, पूर्ण शांतिमय शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांति में, शांति शांति सुख शांति। हे प्रभु शांति प्रदान कर, दूर हो सर्व अशांति, देव सदा फल शांति में, शांति शांति सुख शांति।
With this prayer of peace, Shanti Path written by Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj, we are now towards the end of this session, this wonderful session we had with our global speakers on the topic of attachment and detachment. I thank all the global speakers and all the seekers across the globe who have taken time out of their busy schedules to join us about this platform. Let us meet and meditate on a different topic next week via the same medium. Until then, I wish you a healthy and a prosperous life on behalf of entire Vihangam Yoga global community. Jai Sadgurudev to all.